the military in a sense.
Yo everyone! Welcome to Strategic Non-Compliance, episode 3 or 0.3, however you want to call it. And today we're going to cover some interesting topics, and then in the later half, Mike Bluehair will be posing questions to me to some extent. Mike, you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here and ready to go.
You suck at being quiet. That's all I got to really say, so probably from now on we're just going to have you mute your mic, so...
All right,
because that sucker is picking up everything you're doing over there. So
well, yeah, I just got a new Snowball Blue mic. It's the same one that you have, except yours is a slightly better version. But sorry about that. I was having to make din.
Yeah, so all that fun stuff, guys. Anyway, how shall we start off today, Mike? What do you want? What special subjects do we want to cover at the opening area?
The special subject that I wanted to cover was you, because the last 2 episodes I've been blathering on about anarchism and Mike Bluehair this and Mike Bluehair that. So I'd like to do, you know, what's been going on the last few days, auditor news, police accountability stuff that we usually talk about for the first hour. And then the second hour, it's going to be me interviewing you and me questioning you about your political perspective, your philosophy of your First Amendment test that you started doing. I'm particularly a big fan of your silent treatment stuff, so I want to talk about that some. But yeah, that's why the episode is titled "What Would Bunny Boots Do?" And thank you to the 5 people that are watching. I'm going to be the Rupert Murdoch of live streaming.
Yeah, but anyway, on that thing, I guess I'll go ahead and open up with some information. Apparently, what is it? Yes, that's right. Texas sheepdog there has been arrested for open carry. The news came out last night on PNP News Channel. I was actually sort of receiving live updates for a short time there last night when that was all going down. I'm not sure what's the latest information, but apparently video has been, there's multiple video angles, and we're all waiting for that stuff to come out. It'll be quite interesting since Texas Sheepdog has been arrested before on open carry issues, and we'll see how this all turns out in the near future and all that stuff, obviously. Do you have any comments about that, Mike?
No, I'm just listening, man.
Yeah.
Nope. Mike Bluehair just wants to scan through his chat window right quick. Where's Waldo? Hey. Let me see what this guy says. I got harassed by the cops today and had to live stream it right quick. Lucky I had everything ready to go, and I'm proud of the harassment it makes. No, yeah. Well, you know, shoot me a link to the video, man, Waldo, later, and we'll have a look at it and try to put these pigs on blast. And the cops don't like it. Of course they don't.
Well, remember what the Charlie Dog video there, I mean, just during their little test stream, how much that blew up after we talked about that with our audience.
Yeah, I'm glad that both of our voices can compound together through the internet and bring more attention to some of these issues, because that's what I'm starting to shift my focus towards, trying to use my voice to help out other auditors and other cop watchers. So that's just freaking awesome, you know.
Yeah. So let's you want to move on to the other fun stuff, because I haven't really been keeping track of all that stuff because my back's been acting up, and I just been zoned out on other tasks and things.
About a week ago, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, you had 2 auditors in a Dallas, Texas post office that they were conducting an audit in, and I'd like to talk about that and maybe even show a video. If I could.
Oh yeah. Well, I just need to get that link real fast for that video.
On your end, it's called. It's not even showing in my dashboard. I just uploaded it. So yeah, I wanted to show the audience this video and then discuss it. It's called "Ignorant Cops: The Elephant Seal in the Room."
Yeah, I don't think you sent me that one
And
yet.
it's basically News Now Patrick and James Freeman were conducting a First Amendment audit in a Texas post office, and it was going pretty much the way most audits do. You know, the employees of the post office were sort of unsettled. They were kind of laughing and joking around, and they called for Austin Police Department to show up, but or they called for the police. They didn't say if it was Austin PD, but U.S. Postal Service police postal inspectors show up and basically engage in bullying and almost arresting, you know, James Freeman. They pushed him, they grabbed him by his wrist, they pulled his arms, they pulled him around. They just acted like bully thug goons. And I'd like the audience to see the video that I edited talking about their stuff. But, you know, after watching this strategic non-compliance episode, I'd appreciate it if people would go over to James Freeman and News Now Patrick's YouTube channels and subscribe, because we need to support the people that are actually going out there in the world in, you know, flexing their rights, because when they flex their rights, they're flexing our rights for us. So without further ado, Bunny, if you can show the audience that video, that'd be just dandy.
Yep, give me a second here. I'm just trying to set this up. Okay, so as large as I'm gonna get that, let's go ahead and make this visible to everyone else. You have to forgive me. I am still getting this set up.
Yeah, thank you, Ponzi Zombie Killer, on my chat. Yeah, it was Dallas, Texas, the post office.
Okay, I need to make a minor adjustment to this window because it's partially, our chat boxes are covering it up. So, okay, I can move that to here, and then I go back over to here and adjust the thing. No, that's not what I want to grab. I want to grab this one.
Yeah, and okay. I have to thank the audience for being patient for me and Bunny, because there's a whole lot of technical stuff that goes on with all the streams that Bunny wants to do, and developing the technology and figuring out how to produce this show is really difficult. And we'll get it figured out to where it's more streamlined. And I just want to appreciate the audience's, you know, their patience with us.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead to play. Remember, you have controls also, so.
Okay.
Hey, mute the audio on your side there somehow.
Okay.
Because I am getting echoed through the microphone picking it up from your computer. Or do headphones, one of the two. Let me know when I can hit play. Or you can hit the play. You able to hear me, Mike? Alright, he might be fishing out his headphones. I don't know. Did I lose him? You hear me, Mike? Mike!
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, you can hear me now? Good?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, just go ahead and play once you're ready to go.
Okay, so I don't have to mute the audio on my side anymore?
No, how should I put it? You have the controls. Just go ahead and hit the play, mute, somehow mute the speakers or whatever, what's needed, and when you want to reach, when you reach a stopping point, to give your commentary, go ahead and do that, and then of course start speaking. Got it?
Yeah, and I do this from the YouTube live dashboard, right?
No, you do it from the watch together.
Okay, oops, okay, that's why I'm effing up right now. I'm trying to find the watch together tab.
How should I put it? Mike Bluehair's analogy of trying to teach a monkey with a wrench kind of thing is very accurate when it comes to him and all this stuff that I got going on.
Yeah, this technology is like really freaking Mike out. So, how do I full screen it so the audience can see it?
You can't full screen it.
Okie dokie, so I'll just hit play and we'll let it rip. Without further ado, let's watch me giving these cops that were giving the auditors a hard time the patented Mike Bluehair treatment.
Hold on, guys. I'll pause this here. Hey, Mike, do yourself a favor on the Hangouts window.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you see where the microphone is?
Yep, just mute that.
Mute that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we're going.
All right, we have some First Amendment auditor news. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, James Freeman and News Now Patrick decided to do a First Amendment audit at the Dallas, Texas Post Office, Station A. When they arrived, they started filming without incident. Some of the employees of the post office kind of like, you know, were shy and kind of hiding. And it looked like the audit was going to go okay, other than the fact that the postal workers cleared the lobby and called the police immediately. But, you know, that's par for the course. Most of the time, the auditors just kind of wait for the police to explain to the ignorant people that they're auditing that it's a First Amendment right to do what they're doing. But then in comes what I can only describe as an elephant seal of a postal service cop that basically used his gut as a battering ram to shove James Freeman against a wall and just act like a goon, you know, just like this guy makes a schoolyard bully look good. So without further ado, let's get into excerpts from the video, and I will leave links to both videos in their entirety in the info section, and please do go and support the original uploaders and the original activists that actually went out there and put their butts on the line to face these tyrants so that everybody else could enjoy the Postal Service and maybe pull out a phone and take selfies of themselves or their lovers or their children and not be molested by micro tyrants trying to enforce rules and regulations as if though they're their own personal laws to use as a bludgeon to bully people.
She's like, I'm calling for us to police.
No, it's not for my thing.
Freeman.
Yeah. And we got two guys in here acting kind of weird. Got video cameras with their phones. Okay. Okay.
Wow. So if having a video camera and being weird were illegal, I'd be in prison. So this is usually the part in the First Amendment audit where the police are called and they show up and they inform the ignorant employees that it is indeed legal to film inside the lobby of federal property.
All right, filming inside.
Do you have your poster 7?
Yeah, it's right over here. If not, it's over here.
How you doing?
Hey.
I'm Officer Wister with the United States Postal Inspection Service, and you are, sir?
I'd rather not say right now.
You're doing this for a blog or something?
Well, we have business here.
I'm waiting in line, but nobody's there.
Yeah, we're waiting in line.
So you don't have any business in here.
Hey, you know what? Your customer service is really poor. I'm standing here in line. Everybody has left the counter. Your personal feelings about what I'm doing.
There's
doesn't
nobody behind the
matter.
counter.
I've gotten in line here, and
Here,
you guys
let's
all
come
left.
out here. Just
Why
come
don't
out
you
here.
No, I'm standing in line. Feel free to come and serve your customers whenever you're ready. But I can guarantee you've got a bad review on Google so far. Okay, well, I don't have to put the camera up, and I'm not going to put the camera
Well,
up.
that's what I'm trying to show you.
Okay, there's nothing to show me. I already know.
Okay, tell me what you know.
I can legally and lawfully film in any government building, any federal facility. Department of Homeland Security sent out a memo, I believe it was in 2010, telling all of them, stop kicking people out who have cameras out of federal buildings. You cannot do that. We can film anything we can see from a public space. That includes the lobby, anything we can see from this counter. The only place we cannot go and film is behind the counter. Places that are not accessible to the public. I could go around the side of the building. I can film.
You're correct there.
I can film into the back. I can come into
But if you'll come read poster 7 with me, I will show you where you cannot be in this specific area of the post office unless you've set it up with a PIO.
Okay, what's your name?
I said that when I came in. Officer Wister.
I'm sorry, I was over here when you came in.
Officer Wister, serving since 1996 with the United States Postal Inspection Service.
96, and you still don't understand? What's your badge number?
8259.
8259. And what's your position? Officer?
Yes.
Okay, is there a supervisor who can help explain this to you?
My supervisor sent me here to have you guys.
All right, Mike. I had to pause it right there. I had to pause it. I'm gonna blow up here. My fuse has cut short on this one because of my lack of sleep and my wanting to talk about this a little bit more. You got to unmute yourself if I'm gonna hear you talking, man. Or you step away. All right.
Yeah, Bunny, jump right in. That's why we have this technology. So, and we're doing the show together. So, what do you want to bring so far?
Okay. Now, as is, he cited the DHS memo from 2010. The DHS memo is just clarifying a CFR, that's a federal regulation that specifically states if there is a rule, policy, or other kind of things set up in place that restricts the filming on the inside of a federal building, that those are in play. Now, as is, the United States Postal Service has what is known as Poster 7, which deals with putting out regulations, putting out a policy that restricts the act of filming and recording within the post offices themselves. And as is, there is not technically, with current federal case laws, it is at whims, because there's 2 stipulations. You're not supposed to be able to film postal employees and security cameras. Well, I'm not even going to talk about the security camera issue. I'm going to talk about the postal employee issue. Sure. As is, we have federal case law in multiple districts around the United States that states that federal government employees do not have a right to privacy when acting in a official capacity in public. Now, as is, there is no specific court ruling that will protect you in this specific situation, and if you get arrested in this specific situation on the inside, you're going to be dealing with a legal fight. It is going to be an uphill fight. This is new ground that people are treading. Me and the Bateau side talked about this in the comments of this video. Agreed,
but I went through Poster 7 myself, and that will be talked about in the video when it gets towards the end. Yeah. But Poster 7, in the right column, when you read it, it talks about the actual U.S. code, and the wording itself explains that the DHS memo is actually correct, that you do have a right to film inside, but that language will be explained later towards the end of the video, and I think the language is very interesting, and the language of the memo itself, you know, is going to be very important when someone actually does get arrested and takes this into the court. Because, you know, dear viewers, a lot of people that are seeing this don't understand the actual reason for activism. In my humble estimation, Bunny, the reason for us pushing these limits and getting arrested is so it does get into the court, so that we can evolve the way that law interfaces with the people. And yeah, so I go through Poster 7, and the language in Poster 7 pretty much states that the rules and regulations can't trump the already existing right to film in a publicly accessible lobby of a federal building. But if you don't have any more, Bunny, I just can't wait to hear your feedback as I go through okay. Yeah. It all hinges on the definition of one word that they use.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and hit the play then, and let's go ahead and get this going, and you can sort of mute your mic so this way we're not getting feedback.
Yeah, man.
Just do it from where you can. Because you're right. You can be out on that sidewalk.
Is that Air Force One?
Hey, there's no reason.
Air Force One? Air Force One. No? Okay.
Hey, there's no reason to cause disturbance.
It doesn't ring a bell?
Hold on.
You look familiar.
We have customers here. There's no reason to...
Yeah, and you know what? The clerk isn't going to come out and help these people until you people step over.
There's no reason to get loud. There's customers here. Yeah, you're causing a disturbance.
Okay, well, if you can just... Call your supervisor. We would have been gone.
No, supervisor.
You don't have to bang on the desk.
Okay,
it's
well,
fine.
We
Table.
You
don't have to do that.
Yeah, I've done this. I still haven't found a post office yet that can serve. You guys can go ahead and I don't want to hold you all up. All of these postal employees are supposed to be...
I'm trying to explain it to you, but you don't want to listen to me.
Well, I'm not going to listen to you when you're going to tell me a bunch of BS that's untrue. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Black and white in the lobby. But you won't come out and let me show it to you.
Department of Homeland Security sent out a memo.
We are not Department of Homeland Security.
It doesn't matter. You are federal. And they told you that all federal agencies, this falls under all federal agencies. We can walk into an FBI building in the public lobby, a DEA building in the public lobby, and we can film anything that we can see from a public space. And a post office. I have legitimate business here. They can dislike it if they want, but it's not illegal, it's not unlawful, and I am a paying customer. I have been with USPS for a long time. I expect better service. Not only that, but it's a federal agency, all right? Even if I don't come here to do business, I end up having to pay for it.
At this point, the audit is going off the rails, but at least the first 2 Postal Service cops that engaged with the auditors were actually having a conversation. So there was a possibility of some education here until the corpulent elephant seal of an authoritarian shows up.
For an idea of the scale of the supergiant we're here to find,
Hi, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
No, you're going to leave property now. You're on postal property. This is not federal property.
it's important to respect their personal space. Elephant seals rarely cross paths with people.
Homeland Security does not govern the Postal Service. So you're going to leave property and we're done, okay?
You're not even going to
No,
be
I'm not gonna
professional and
shake your
shake somebody's
No,
hand?
I'm not going to
What's
shake
your
your
name?
hand.
Okay.
What's your name?
Officer Brown, 7628. Out the
Officer
building
Brown,
now.
7628.
That's right, out the building now. Okay. I'm going to put cuffs on both of y'all here in just a minute. Okay? Out of the building now. You can go out to the street. You can go to public parking lot and film all you want.
Guys, we need a call up here. What's the address here?
I don't know.
Well,
Get
Out
the
now.
address,
I'm trying to be
please.
civil. with
No,
you.
no. Out now.
What I'm trying to ask you
Out.
United States Post Office.
now.
What
Officer
says we
Brown
can't
with
be
the
in
Dallas
here?
Police
Out now.
What says we can't be in
I'm
here?
with the U.S. Postal Police.
United
Out
States
now.
Postal Police.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Out now. We're not discussing this
What? No,
now.
is this not publicly accessible?
This is not public property. It belongs to the United States Postal Service
Okay, and who owns the United
Poster
States?
7,
Okay, who owns
the Postal Service.
Oh, so is it not public property?
No, it's not.
What's the address
Okay,
here?
so it's,
I have no idea.
It's not publicly
It's not
accessible.
public property.
Okay, we need the address.
It's not publicly accessible.
McDonald's is publicly accessible, but they
No,
can
but
tell
that's
you.
privately owned.
Yeah.
And the Postal
That-
Service
no.
is
It's
not.
not privately
It
owned.
doesn't matter. Out now.
See?
Out now.
It's not
You have a
privately owned.
supervisor?
Yes, I do, but you're not going to talk to him until you after you're out of the building.
You better. Yeah, you need to be very careful what you do. All right.
You have exactly 5 seconds to step out of the building.
I'm gonna warn you at this point that what you're doing is unlawful,
It's
and
not
any
unlawful.
assault on me will come
not
back on
unlawful.
you personally, not as
It
an
is
officer.
unlawful. Out of the building now.
Stop threatening me.
I'm not threatening you.
Stop moving. All right.
You have exactly 5 seconds to step out of the building. or
I'm
I'll put cuffs on you.
gonna warn you at this point that what you're doing is unlawful,
It's
and
not
any
unlawful.
assault on me will come
not
back on
unlawful.
you personally, not as
It
an
is
officer.
unlawful. Out of the building now.
Stop threatening me.
I'm not threatening you.
Stop moving at me. Stop.
Stop. You're under arrest. Right
For
now.
what?
For trespassing.
I'm not
Public property.
trespassing.
Yes, you are.
It's federal property.
It is postal property.
Stop.
And you are under arrest.
Don't assault me.
I'm not. Turn around. Put your hands
No,
behind
you
your back.
cannot arrest me.
Put your
I'm
hands
on
behind your
public
back.
property.
You are not on public property. You're on
I'm on
postal
federal property.
You're on postal property.
Stop pushing me.
Hands behind your back
Stop
or
pushing
get
me.
out of the building.
But when they do, they can really throw their weight around.
Right now.
You're messing up big time, buddy.
No, I'm not.
You're messing up big time.
I know what Poster 7 says, and I know what postal
This is
rules
this
and
is your
regulations.
last day on the job,
No,
buddy.
it's not.
It's your last day.
No, it's not. Out now.
You can't be the. Get a supervisor.
Out now.
I understand that you may be ignorant. Go get
Out
a
now.
supervisor.
Out now. Out now. Okay. Turn around, hands behind your back.
Don't touch me.
Hands behind your
Don't touch me.
back. Hands behind your back, or get out. Okay. You're gonna refuse, Sam. Go.
No, hey, you're not. You're going to be personally responsible for your own actions. If he tells you to do something, you're still responsible for your own actions.
Out the
Stop
door.
pushing me.
Out the door.
Get off of me.
Out the door.
Get off
door.
of me.
Out the door. Out the door.
Get off of me.
You're under arrest. Come on. It's not worth it. You're going to federal jail.
Call your supervisor.
I don't need a
It's
supervisor.
legal and lawful for me to be
No,
here.
it's not. Poster 7, rules and regulations governing conduct on postal property say you cannot.
Say that I can be here.
No, it does not.
This is so infuriating to watch. These tyrants have laid hands on this man and assaulted him for doing nothing more than exercising his First Amendment right in a public space. It's been long established, and it's understood by the law that U.S. citizens have the right to film in any publicly accessible area inside a federal building. And now I'm going to break down exactly why these pigs are acting outside the color of authority of their badges. Long story short, what this really comes down to is a lack of an understanding of the distinction between rules and regulations and law. These Postal Service cops kept referencing something called Poster 7. Well, let's have a look at Poster 7, shall we? Well, if you bop on over to the Postal Service website, you can check out usps.com/posters/blah blah blah. I'll leave a link in the description beneath, and you'll find rules and regulations governing conduct on Postal Service property. Now, I read through this thing about 4 times. The only reference to filming I can see is right here, and it references photography. So let's have a look at it. Photographs for news, advertising, or commercial purposes. Photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings, except when prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. Other photographs may be taken only with the permission of the local postmaster or installation head. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So when you read this at face value, it sounds like those Postal Service cops are absolutely in the right. But let's look at what else I found in Poster 7. Alright, in this sidebar here on the right that I've highlighted, it says penalties and other laws. See, the actual U.S. codes and the laws are mentioned on that right column. Okay, penalties and other laws. Alleged violation of these rules and regulations are heard, and the penalties prescribed herein are imposed either in a federal district court or by a federal magistrate in accordance with applicable court rules. Individuals found guilty of violating these rules and regulations while on property under the charge and control of the Postal Service are subject to a fine as provided in 18 U.S. Code 3571 or imprisonment of not more than 30 days or both. Nothing contained in these rules and regulations shall be construed to abrogate any other federal laws or regulations or any other state or local laws and regulations applicable to any area in which the property is situated. Eureka! There's a sentence that jumps right out at you. Nothing contained in these rules and regulations shall be construed to abrogate any other federal law or regulations or of any other state or local laws and regulations applicable to any area in which the property is situated. Let's look at the word abrogate, shall we? Abrogate. Verb. Formal. Repeal or do away with. A law, right, or formal agreement. A proposal to abrogate temporarily the right to strike. Synonyms: repeal, revoke, rescind, repudiate, overturn, annul. Okay, so basically any of those rules and regulations just go right out the window as soon as they go trampling on any federal laws or rights. You know, like the long established right to film in federal property and lobbies and foyers and whatnot. So here is the law abrogating, since we know what that word now is, or at least those Postal Service workers, I hope they're watching this, those Postal Service cops. Now that you know what the word abrogate means, you can stop overstepping your goose-stepping and stop trying to blubber punch with your big fat gut like activists out of a foyer conducting nothing more than their First Amendment protected rights. And this is what we call Postal Service Cop Education Week. You people should be stripped of your qualified immunity because you can't bother to look over the rules and regulations and how they're affected by the actual laws that I'm sure you swore an oath to protect. You know, it's that little thing called the Constitution. See, your uniform, your stupid costume doesn't give you authority. You're supposed to act as a proxy for the Constitution. The Constitution's not a proxy for you or your ego, so you shouldn't be shoving people around with that enormous, corpulent, obese gut of yours. End of rant. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're watching this on Steam, hook me up with an upvote or a resteam for police accountability.
Alright there. interesting enough, but there was
like activists
one
out of the
spot.
foyer. So basically, any of the federal laws or regulations or any
me
other that I've
backtrack it
highlighted,
here.
it says penalty drafts for news, advertising, or commercial purposes.
Here we go. Okay, Mike, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm ready now to talk.
Okay, so I've seen, like, this is probably the third version of Poster 7 I have seen. I wonder if this is the most recent, because there was one that specifically was saying that employees and staff were not allowed to be filmed, security cameras, and then, of course, people's mail.
Well, that one was the 2016 version. It's the most recent version that's on the U.S. Postal Service's website.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, they got a couple different versions floating around out there, and they hand out different ones depending on which post office you go to also.
Yeah.
So it's not quite entirely unified at the actual individual offices sometimes.
They're meant to be posted on the inside. That's why they're called posters. They're meant to be posted on the inside so people can read them.
All right. So let's go ahead and go back over this. Photographs for news, advertising, commercial purposes. Photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings, except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or federal court order or rule. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure staff would technically count as authorized personnel. Usually a post office will have a head honcho that would count as their, what was it, the postal inspector there for that specific one would count also as authorized personnel. And the thing is corridors, auditoriums used for public meetings. Okay. So here's the other part. I'm going to go ahead and you'll probably need to look at this on the regular live stream here.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and post, well, bring up 41, Title 41 CFR 102-74.420. What is the policy concerning photographs for news, advertising, and commercial purposes? This is the federal regulation, the de facto federal regulation on this issue. Except where security regulations, rules, orders, or directives apply, or federal court order or rules prohibit it, a person entering in or on federal property may take photographs. And the key word is, the keywords are opening, right in the opening sentence right here. Except where security regulation, rules, orders, or directives. In which case, security regulations, that's rules, those two areas right there are pretty much covered by that post office. If they say you can't film in here, well, they're standing with the CFR. And this is covering all, this is the CFR that covers all this. And that beginning part right there of the, of Poster 7 pretty much does the exact same thing. It almost mirrors this CFR. And of course it gives the places where you can do all that with Section C, building entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, and auditoriums for news purposes. So this is, and as I said, this is at contention with the case law, and this is where the big huge gray area is, where people can get arrested if they don't know their legal issues around this very well.
Right.
And that's why, in my opinion, if he literally did get arrested and hauled off to jail, the USPS officer there would have legal standing for that arrest. And he could have easily been hauled off there. And that's part of the reason why me and the Batosai commented. It was only in the James Freeman video about that, how this is not a safe, I mean, it's a very risky position to do this if you don't know what the hell you're doing and what you're getting into.
There's all, yeah, I think that the activists need to understand, you know, the risk involved. You know, other auditors shouldn't just emulate this without doing their research. But if you're out there and you believe that you're willing to go to the mattresses on this one and get arrested and take it into the courts, then go for it, in my humble opinion. But if you're not willing to be arrested over this issue, I would err on the side of caution, like Bunny Boots is talking about. But the use of the word aggregate is you have to admit, that's pretty much saying that, you know, their rules and regulations are moot against other protected rights. I mean, do you not see the logic of that, Bunny?
Well, hold on. Let me mute this as I think this mutes it across the board for us. As I move this back forward to well, the thing is that's I mean, that's a different subsection. That's dealing with penalties. That's actually how you would be punished. That isn't the actual one.
Right, but if they try to establish that punishment, like it's not going to work because of the use of that word. You know, like I really think that if somebody went into the courts with this, I think the courts would side on the side of the auditor. But that's
are you sure? Because I mean, we've seen in times past where they haven't, and in fact, how should I put it?
I think if they would be fair and take into account the spirit of the law, that they would rule in the favor of the auditor. But you're right. It's you know, if the judge is a copsucker, then no. You know, the auditor is going to get screwed and end up spending the what is the maximum there? It's like
30 days.
30 days in jail over it. So, you know, there's a month of your life gone.
Yeah,
but,
and you don't get a public defender for 30 days. You have to fight this one on your own, or you pay for your own lawyer on this one. You don't get a public defender, or as some people call it, public pretender.
With federal?
Yes,
no.
With this one, because it's under 30 days punishment. Remember, I went through a similar court case.
Oh, so they make you have to pay for your own civil lawyer?
In this case, yes.
Oh, that's horrible.
Remember, because as I stated, I was looking at similar penalties when I was dealing with the federal courthouse / visitor center in Anchorage, Alaska.
And they literally, so if the punishment in federal court is less than 30 days, see, I'm learning something new. This is great. This is great for my education. So, yeah, you're going to have to deal with your own defense. That's very good advice, and this is really educational for not only me, but other auditors and other activists out there that are listening to this. So awesome. I'm just really happy that I'm learning something here.
Yeah, and as Ponzi Zombie Killer pointed out, yes, Freeman got freaking lucky in that situation. He didn't get arrested. And the thing is, and this is criticism definitely pointed at in the direction of News Now Patrick and his friends and all that stuff. You guys need to be thinking a little bit more about this. I know you guys are not exactly in it for the same reasons that as a lot of us others are out there. But the thing is, if you're not willing to get arrested, and you're just pushing for whatever reason you're going for, don't push these issues, because they will cost you more in the long run if you get hemmed up and arrested on this issue, because there's nothing established specifically in this issue.
You know, hindsight is always, you know, better in 2020, and we can play armchair generals, and we weren't there. You know, I don't want to, you know, bag too much on these guys when I'm offering my critique, because I'm in support of what they're doing. And I think that Freeman would have a decent chance of beating it. But, you know, I don't know anything about the man. This is the first video I've ever seen that he produced. I have no idea who he is. But just from his attitude, from what I saw in the video, is the guy has a similar attitude to mine. You know, he's willing to stand up for his rights and be assertive and try to articulate, while he's being bullied and threatened with coercion of violence, to try to articulate why the law is being broken. And, you know, I think the guy, you know, has balls. I think he deserves some kudos just for standing up. But yes, in Texas, the Texas Penal Code, because I faced myself resisting arrest. And no, not resisting arrest. It's called interfering with public duties, which is the same thing as resisting in Texas, if I remember.
And that's if they're willing to throw on some state charges on that. That would depend on the the district attorney that would end up pushing this specific case.
You know, the really crappy thing about interfering with public duties is that it not being a lawful arrest is no defense in court. And that's just kind of backwards and antithetical to any kind of logical thinking. But yes, like interfering with public duties, even if the cop says, hey, I'm going to, I have reasonable articulable suspicion that you're a radioactive bumblebee from Fukushima, and that's a violation of a fictitious penal code, and you're under arrest now, and you fight that arrest, you can be just charged with resisting, and the court will just ignore all the BS that the cop said. And that's just incredibly crazy to me to think about. And the resisting arrest laws and the way they're interpreted, not only in Texas, but in Oregon is the same thing, and many other places. And it just makes my brain hurt to think about that. Like, I've talked to cops about it before, you know, off the record and off camera, and the officers tell me, well, that's designed to protect the police because, you know, if people thought that if it wasn't a lawful arrest, then they would fight us. And I'm thinking in my head, well, you know, no shite, Shamrock, you know, like maybe, you know, in any logical analysis, people should be able to fight being put in cages for unjust reasons. You know, what are we, livestock?
Yeah, well, and Dan O in my chat specifically had this comment. I think Florida has resisting without violence. That is correct. In fact, in Florida, if you go completely limp and they have to drag you, they will actually charge you with a resisting arrest charge. There is a guy, Gripsky, I think is his last name. I can't remember his, I think it was Charles Gripsky. He went through, in the late 2000s, a huge major legal battle with a local town, and one of the charges he ended up getting levied with from the local police force there was for resisting arrest, and all he did was go completely limp and had to be dragged to the police vehicle.
Sure. I think it's very important for people that are new to this, new to the activist or auditor or to the cop watching and the First Amendment tester community and culture, is that wherever you live, you know, you need to research before you ever, you know, start doing this stuff, because it is dangerous, you know. And just to throw in my 2 cents, it's the actual opposite of that, what you were just talking about going limp and you can get charged. In Oregon, if you are protesting, passive resistance is legal, and that's how it's defined. You can say, I'm protesting the fact that you're a fascist pig and you're usurping my rights and you're overstepping, you're goose-stepping, officer, and sit down, and you can make that cop carry you. You can't fight them, but you can go limp and you can make them carry you, and it's perfectly legal in Oregon, where I am. But, you know, you go over to Washington, you know, or Idaho, and then, like, I have no idea if passive resistance is legal there, because I don't really live in those states.
And the thing is also what's interesting is there is some federal case law that goes all the way back to the late 1800s on the resisting arrest and all that stuff, but that's an argument for a different day, and it would be a very long in depth, because that is actually something that several legal scholars have actually looked into. But getting back on track here, this is an area with post offices. You're good standing outside in the parking lot or outside the building in a public area. As soon as you cross the door threshold, you're stepping into untested territory in the legal realms. That is going to be a difficult one to go for. And even me, with my inside filming of federal courthouses in some situations, I was taking heavy risks with those. Well, larger risks, because as I said, I went through a legal battle already once, at least up in Anchorage, and each federal courthouse may have different local rules on how they handle that issue. And if there's local rules for the federal courthouses, well, guess what? Those are the things that apply based off of what I cited. Well, I mean, with the citation of CFR 102-74.420. And as is, this CFR specifically, which is the meat and bones of the DHS memo, this is what it's all hashing down on, applies to all federal buildings. And anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I just want to throw in a disclaimer here, and I want the people listening, especially the law enforcement that follow my social media, and I've seen the court documents to prove it. They're just looking through everything I produce, looking for a way to prosecute me on something. I cannot give legal advice. What me and Bunny talk about on this show is just our opinion about our life experience. If you need a lawyer, you need to go and talk to a real lawyer, because Bunny and I are just some guys on the internet, and you shouldn't base your legal strategies based on stuff that he and I say, because A, it would be illegal for us to do it, and B, it just wouldn't be very wise. You need to do your own research, people. Okay, I just had to say that, Bunny.
Go ahead and throw that stupid disclaimer bullshit. But I mean, as is, I'm just pointing out specifically this is that you're going to be fighting an uphill battle if you get hauled in the court over this issue, and there's no like major case law that protects you on this stuff. Now, and as I said, this is the gray area that needs to be hashed out, and it probably will take a court case to deal with it.
Yeah, somebody needs to get arrested. Somebody needs to step up that has access to an actual lawyer that they can afford and make it happen. In my opinion, if I had a lawyer that would represent me, I would have done that, like, you know, five months ago. You know, I do it tomorrow, but I just don't have access to that. You know, I have a list of civil rights violations against me from Portland Police Bureau as long as my freaking arm in fine print, but I just can't get a lawyer to look at it. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I dropped the F-bomb too much, and I've been told point blank that I cussed the cops out too much, and quote unquote, lawyers have told me that I'm not a good victim, end quotes.
Yeah, AZ Desert, what about filming for private, non-commercial, non-advertising purposes? You're going to have to, that, as stated, would have to be dealt with in the eyes of the courts. It's pretty much, the situation's going to apply, whether it's commercial, non-commercial, whatever kind of, just the act of filming itself is going to be something that has to be hashed out in the courts.
But I mean, can you not agree that the use of the word abrogate is very interesting, and that needs to get interpreted by the courts? Because it deals with the penalties. They're not going to be they're not going to be able to implement those penalties, you know, because of the fact that the what is it? It's the body of the crime. It's the evidence against you is a corpus delicti. So that would be the person breaking the quote unquote rule or regulation, right? That would be the body of the crime. So I don't know. I just think that, I mean, what are your thoughts about the way that word is used, Bunny? Honestly, am I misunderstanding this? If I am, that's
well, it's not the word itself. What I see is an issue with that is it's in a different area on the poster itself, and it's dealing specifically with punishment. It's not specifically dealing with that policy. And as I said, that policy falls within the CFR that I have cited here.
Well, go back and read what it says, though. But it makes reference to all the policies and rules. Read it. Seriously.
Yeah, hold on. And also, I want to cite mention this comment. Ed Hartgrove, Arizona Desert News poster 7 addresses other. He put in quotations, other photographing. And as I said, yes, the poster 7s throughout the country are not they're not all together the same within each post office, so they might differ in their wording and all this stuff. But yeah, I'll go ahead and go back.
They're not universal. Yeah, the one I looked at was the 2016 one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Found guilty of violating these rules and regulate applicable court rules. Individuals found guilty of violating these rules and regulations while on property under the charge and control of the Postal Service are subject to a fine as provided in 18 U.S. Code 3571 or imprisonment of not more than 30 days or both. Nothing contained in these rules and regulations shall be construed to abrogate any other federal laws or regulations or any other state or local laws and regulations applicable to any area in which the... Let's look at the word abrogate, shall we?
Yeah, well, here's the deal.
Nothing contained in these rules. That refers to everything in the rules and regulations. Am I not understanding the
thing is this doesn't repeal or go over because, as I said, this falls in line with 41 CFR 102-74.420.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you thought you found a gotcha, but in my opinion, it's not a gotcha.
Okay. Well, I think it's interesting. It also says that you know, nothing contained in these rules and regulations shall be construed to abrogate any federal laws or regulations of any state or local laws. So if there's anything in the state constitution that grants a protected right to film in a public area, right, then that's your gotcha. So you have like two possibilities in that. But like I said, I'm no lawyer, and that's just my understanding of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with that, you would have to find that you'd have to take that to a legal fight, and you have to find a state that has a law like that. The only one that might have something like that would probably be Colorado. But I don't even think it would cover this kind of situation.
Yeah, I want to read what I'm going to do for fun later. Probably tonight is I'm going to go over the Oregon Constitution where I live, because the Oregon Constitution's rights of freedom of expression and freedom of speech is quite a bit. There's quite a bit more protections for that in the Oregon Constitution than even in the First Amendment. So I would love to go digging through the Oregon Constitution tonight and have a peek at that, because that just sounds fun. But just the language, it says that, you know. Yeah, like, wow, like I would love it if I could afford a lawyer, because I mean, you know me, Bunny, I would be totally willing to be arrested over this if I had a real lawyer that would take it to the court, you know, like I would love to do my
yeah. Well, as is you're looking at a similar situation like Travis Hines is going through over in that one Oregon town, Coriolis or something like that. That's southwest of me, where the judge sat there and ruled against them just because she didn't like people who filmed police, and you can and that is from his testimony only. We don't have any backing documents, and so it's hard to say if that's entirely what happened in that specific court case. But yeah, as is, the courts, you will have judges that will allow their biases to cloud their judgment, specifically on rulings.
Sure. And then, you know, the obnoxious thing is that in Oregon, if you repeal something, if you appeal something, that's great. I've had 6 hours sleep in the last 24. But if you appeal something, take something to the appeals court or petition for an appeal of a ruling in Oregon, you have to wait 5 years before they even look at it. You know, so but I think we need to put this one to bed, Bunny. And
we've pretty much reached about 45 minutes about talking on this one, and I know you're itching at moving on to the next topic, and it would probably easily segue into questioning me on other things.
Absolutely, because that, you know, we're gonna if we have to go over the 2 hour mark on this one to get in at least an hour of what would Bunny Boots do, we're gonna make that happen. But I think play the other video, the children's buys lots of tyranny, and I have to go into the kitchen and flip some food over.
Okay, go ahead and hit the mute on your on the mic thing there for and I'll go ahead and let this one play, and you got like 10 minutes.
And Bunny Doo, please pause the video and add commentary as you will.
Okay.
Do you recognize this kid's face? Well, you should, because he's being plastered all over the news right now. This is one of the Florida high school students that's supposedly speaking from the heart and urging America to do something about the, quote, gun violence epidemic in America. This kid is all over the TV news wearing a suit like he's ready to run for political office or something, just pouring his little heart out. What you're not seeing on the TV news is the fact that this is all scripted. This kid is reading from a script, and I will prove it. What you're about to watch is excerpts that were taken out of the original news broadcast that weren't usable because the kid was going from a script and he forbled with his lines. I'll actually pause it and let you listen to his coach helping him with what to say in just a few moments here. But let's watch the video and you can judge for yourself.
Fire alarm earlier that day, and that was a drill, so we thought this was a drill too, just another one. Because we have a lot of fire alarms, a lot of fire drills at the school. After we heard the first gunshot, we initially thought it was a drill. Actually, that was a bad choice. It's okay, you're fine. Actually, that was a bad choice because the janitor, sorry.
It's okay, you're fine, David, you're fine.
Honestly, when I was going out, I was kind of in, I wasn't, hold on. When I was going out, I was in shock.
Listen carefully. What you're about to hear is someone off camera coach this kid and feed him the line, and I quote, say, I don't know how to put this in perspective. And anybody out there who's astute in body language can tell you that this kid is running off of a script and he's messing up on his lines. So listen for it. Say, I don't know how to put this in perspective.
I don't know how to put this in perspective.
So most of my friends that made it out, one of them went into a bathroom in the same, I believe in the same hallway as the shooter. Well, hold on. One of them went into the same bathroom, I believe, as the hallway shooter. He was in there at the same time, and he was in the bathroom, and he didn't know if he was going to live.
I've been editing video for a decade, and I know exactly what I'm looking at. No one likes to see dead children on the news. The only thing that I don't like to see more than dead.
I'm gonna stop here, and as one of you guys already pointed out, look at his eyes. Yes, he's constantly looking over at something when he's pausing, looking for a confirmation or something like that. But also I want to point out that you can see there's a lot of jump cuts here. Now, I don't know if this was from Mike's doing or if this is from the source that he got it from. So you have to take this with a grain of salt, in a way. But there is a lot of editing going on within this short clip here.
Dead children on the news is when political hacks and politicians use the blood of children and manipulate kids into furthering their political agenda. See, we live in a society where people selectively determine what is truth as opposed to a society that values logic and reason. Okay, here's one for you, liberal politicians and people that are of the liberal political perspective. And don't get me into this, man. I'm not right or left. I'm an anarchist. I don't care for either side of the political perspective. But I understand reality. And here's the logic of it, okay? We live in a society that defends and protects celebrities with security personnel with guns. We live in a society that protects our borders with security personnel with guns. Our society has 800 military bases in 70 countries defending our quote-unquote interest with men and women with guns. We defend our politicians and protect them with people with guns. And somehow that same society thinks it's okay to protect our children with a little plaque that says gun-free zone. You see, if you look at all these spree shooters and all these mass murderers, they're all killing people in areas where they know they won't have any resistance. The only place that gets attacked some...
Now, I want to point out there was a police security officer, something like that. There was a police officer assigned to that school, from what I understand, and I'm not exactly sure what happened with that entire situation. But it was stated at one point there was some sort of like security or police officer stationed at that school that, if they were an actual police officer, they should have been armed with a firearm. And I don't know what caused them not to be able to react properly for the situation.
There's been no media statement that I could find so far of what happened to the school resource officer. But yes, they had an armed school resource officer there that failed to do his job. He's supposed to see, the school resource officers are basically handcuffing 8-year-olds for making you know, little drawings of guns, or you know, detaining autistic kids, you know, and getting in the news. And you know, when I was a kid in school, in grade school and in junior high, the principal and vice principal would walk around in the hallways and you know, keep kids from smoking in the bathroom and whatnot, and all that petty stuff was handled by them. Now they want the school resource officer, this armed agent of the state, doing it. For what reason, I have no idea. The original reason for putting school resource officers in the schools in the first place was to defend the border of the school, to make sure that, you know, crazy people and pedophiles and stuff like that don't molest our children. But, you know, they're not doing that. And I bet you dollars to no nuts that guy was looking under the bleachers for kids trying to smoke or something, you know, when he should have been out there, you know, shooting this kid with a rifle, or this, you know, 19-year-old teenage kid with a rifle. That's what he should have been doing, you know, was, you know, using the force of the state. You know, that's the logical reason for why we supposedly have these gang members, these blue ISIS guys around. And, you know, if it's so infuriating, but I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the play then. Oh, Mike, you see the little speaker on the bottom right-hand side of the window player for the Watch Together? If you can turn, that allows you to adjust the volume on your side. So if you needed to, you could easily turn that down. If you want, I could have. Well, no, because you're not wearing headphones, so never mind. But so if we ever get like a crossfeed kind of situation, you can turn that down.
I got you. Well, I'm gonna pause my Google Hangout now, and let's watch the rest of the video.
Okay.
Sometimes by these mass shooters, that's not a gun-free zone, or a place where they know that people are just gonna be a victim smorgasbord for them to attack, are military bases. And the only reason why it happens at military bases is because you have a very high concentration of people with PTSD and mental problems due to the horrors of war. But all the rest of the spree shootings and all the rest of the mass murders occur in areas where there's gun-free zones. So these kids are being killed by the gun-free zones because these killers know they won't have any resistance. The vast majority of these spree shooters, when you actually read about the cases, are all either killing themselves when they first see cops, or when they see that a citizen, because sometimes citizens aim weapons at these people and they kill themselves immediately or surrender. So there you go. You know, let's live in a society that values logic over reason. I'll give an example. 33,000 people, I read the other day, are killed by falling off of ladders in America. But I don't see people getting on the news and crying, saying, let's have better workplace safety. You know, there's strips of California highway that kill more people every year than all the gun crime combined in this country. People need to stop allowing themselves to be manipulated by their emotions. See, politicians will never let a crisis go to waste, and they will always step in and provide you a solution to make you feel better. But the solution equals more tyranny. And if you check out what these cops and this police state and this, you know, Orwellian nightmare of a society that they're begging for, there's actually law enforcement officials going on the news saying that they need the power to manipulate a law called the Baker Act in Florida that will allow them to go through people's social media, and if you're, you know, just crap posting on the internet, and you post some stuff that maybe you don't mean, or you're just talking BS when you're playing a violent video game, they're going to be able to use this as a means to involuntarily force people into mental institutions and steal their liberty and put them on meds and disappear people down into the memory hole of, you know, yesteryear. This is like the kind of stuff that happened in Soviet Russia. If you talked bad about the state, or you talked about stuff that the government said that they didn't want you to talk about, they would involuntarily commit you. This is like a scary sci-fi novel come to life. If people allow themselves to have emotionality drive them, and the politicians will step in and hand them a solution to make their little butts not hurt anymore, we're going to end up living in a bad sci-fi movie. I call on every free-thinking individual to stand up right, left, and center. I don't care about your political ideology. To stand up and resist the idea of children being used to manipulate people's heartstrings into adopting legislation that they would never, ever, ever dream about allowing to happen otherwise. It is uncategorically, morally, and ethically repugnant to use the blood of children to further a political agenda. How about this, liberal politicians that are trying to use this crisis and not let a good crisis go to waste? How about you guys fire the thousands of concealed carry armed security guards that all of you have? We could save some money. How about you arm them with slingshots? If guns don't make people safe, and guns make for a horrible society where all our children are at risk, do the right thing, do the ethical thing, left-wing politicians, and fire your armed security details.
Alright, Mike, you can unmute. Let us dig into my opinions. Start firing away with the damn questions here. Well, give me a second here. I'm going to go ahead and hide out the window. So we've already seen that part. Let us have fun with all that.
Awesome.
And let me do a quick, before we really start getting into it, let me give you quick shout outs because my thing, thank you Baby Boss 113 for the follow on Mixer, and News Now Northwest for the subscribe on YouTube. Alright, yeah, let's go ahead and get back into it. Okay, start firing off your initial questions for me on this specific one. We're going to have some fun here.
Awesome. So first of all, what are your thoughts on the whole gun issue, Bunny? From, you know, because this is the What Would Bunny Boots Do section of the podcast, or the vlog, or whatever the heck we want to call this thing. But, okay, so if Bunny Boots was the tyrant of the universe, and you could implement any kind of gun policy in society whatsoever, what would it be and why?
Do you want me as a tyrant that wants to hold power, or a tyrant that wants a free society?
I want you as a benevolent tyrant that wants to help society.
If I was a benevolent tyrant that wants to help society, I'd be playing this like Tropico 4, well, the Tropico series. In which case, there is a reason why I would institute the right to own firearms within a certain limited reasons. For the general mass public, and that is it increases the general defensive capability of the population itself, making it very difficult to take over from foreign powers and a direct conflict issue. On top of that, as is, it gives the people the ability to defend themselves no matter what their body strength is, whether they're old or feeble, or it may be if there is a responsible gun owner that has responsible children, well, teenagers that knows how to operate a firearm, they can defend themselves, like we have seen in the past 2 years several times on like Reddit news, where in the headlines we see teenager defends themselves against armed robbers, or robbers breaking into the house while they're home alone, or defending their siblings against armed intruders into their house, or intruders into their house, where sometimes lethal force was needed to defend themselves and their siblings, for the most part. I am for the capacity of people to own firearms for that aspect. But also, how should I put it? I'm also for the limitation on who gets it, within reason. Like, if there's someone that has a mental issue that precludes them, well, that would preclude them in this kind of situation from owning a firearm, like this teenager who had just turned, well, had turned 19 years old, had obvious mental issues, was seeing a therapist, and was pretty much voted by a lot of his classmates to be a school shooter. In fact, he even had statements that he wanted to be a school shooter. Wasn't there enough red flags in the first place to say, hey, parents, don't buy your kid a fucking gun because he's already got problems? He's been called over freaking 20 times to his parents' place over domestic issues alone.
Yep.
The existing laws should be able to deal with the situation, but no one's willing to fucking enforce them.
Right. I mean, here's my other question for you, Bunny. So let's get into some of the things that we do know that came from the law enforcement side of things and happened on the law enforcement side of things before this 19-year-old finally snapped and went postal, for lack of a better word. Now, as you just mentioned, Bunny, we know that local law enforcement had 20 calls of service to this kid because of potentially explosive, potentially violent type things. We know that the FBI was alerted and told that, this guy's making statements about killing people. Like, and the FBI failed to launch any kind of investigation. We know that the school officials knew that he was known to be to have been expelled, and the school resource officer, in the school administration still somehow let him get into the school. What would the malevolent tyrant Bunny Boots do with that massive obvious failure on the part of those that are charged with the responsibility of quote unquote protecting us? What would you do with those fine folks, Bunny?
Well, I would have an inquiry specifically dealing with what was the actions of the school resource officer in that situation. What are the tools they're equipped with and all that stuff? Because as is, I don't have any facts on that specific issue. The press has been mum on that. I'm pretty sure the police have been mum, and with good reason. It's an active investigation. It's an active criminal investigation, and there's a lot of dicey aspects. In fact, we already seen 4chan, well, the Chan boards in general, troll the media into false reporting that this person with a Caribbean freaking last name to be a white nationalist or a member of a white nationalist organization over there in Florida, which is a good laugh and chuckle on my part because it just shows you that how stupid sometimes the media can be, and having to go back and say, oh, we got to put a retraction on this. It turns out it's not true. The police said it's not true. We're sorry we put out false information. But nonetheless, as is, when you sign up to become a police officer, you sign up to become a soldier, you are putting your life behind those that you're supposed to serve. So that means your safety, yes, it's a concern, but in reality, your safety should not trump theirs if in these kinds of situations where you got like an active shooter situation. In fact, a good example of a responding officer doing a good job is the female officer that responded to the first Fort Hood shooting, mass shooting, that happened on post, where that officer there went on a shooting rampage and shot a bunch of people in the at the processing center that I went through not even 4 or 5 months prior to that incident, where she ended up getting an exchange of gunfire, and while she was taken down too, she managed to stop him in his tracks, preventing him from taking any more lives or injuring any more people. And that's the kind of risk and bravado that is needed if you're going to be a police officer or a soldier, for a matter of fact, because you're putting your life on the line when you're signing up for that job. Keep that in mind. And you also got to keep in mind that if you're going to be, if you're in the business to save people and do all that stuff, you're going to have to take those risks. It's not an easy job, I understand that, but guess what? It is still a safe job in comparison with quite a few other trades out there.
Oh, agreed. And I've been sitting over here with my hands over my mouth, both of them, because this is what would Bunny Boots do, and I'm not going to throw any of my anarchist crap at you. So let's just keep continuing.
And I'm gonna make a pause. I see there's a lot of chatter in my chat box about the what happened with what was it, Texas Sheepdog last night, and with Buck G, and I guess there's a bunch of raw video. The video still be out there, so hopefully you guys will have some video up there. I see you talking there, Sexy Prez. So I'll be looking forward to that later in the night. We'll probably end up covering that this Friday specifically. So go ahead, continue firing on with questions, man.
Sure, man. So what is Bunny Boots' political ideology? Like, where do you fall on that old political compass test? And just tell, I know your audience knows, but tell my anarchist folks and my ANCAP folks and my libertarian folks what you're about.
I am, when it comes to the right-left line, I am pretty much near the center, or dead on the center, depending on the day I take the test. I've taken it 3 times in the past. And then it leans a little bit towards the libertarian side on the south side of that chart, or whatever. So I'm not to the authoritarian effect. In fact, actually, if you ever watch me play the game RimWorld, I sit there and say, okay, there's only mandatory fun time at 9 o'clock. Otherwise, you guys are able to do whatever the hell you want for the rest of the clock, as long as you're knocking out some sort of work. Just be prepared to be woken up if a trader comes by or there's a rescue or something like that. So a lot of my philosophies sort of play out to some extent in my strategy games.
Nice. Now, if people want to find, do you have a gaming channel on the interweb? If my viewers want to find Bunny Boots' gaming stuff, where are they going to find that stuff at?
Oh, you could find me as Deleting Virus. I do sort of multi-platform streaming, but the thing is I don't really game all that too often. Just haven't really had the time or do all that stuff, and I generally use that as a test bed for testing out the various streaming technologies. What you see happening with like what I do with my Bluehair here on the multi-streaming, or with Bunny Boots Inc. on the streaming, is I generally will test it out on that channel just to see if it's even possibly viable, and then I'll if it looks like it's promising in that aspect, I'll start trying to expand its scope and apply it. We'll see if it's applicable for what I do with Bunny Boots Inc.
Right on. So you do have military experience, yeah?
Yeah.
So were you in the U.S. Army or the Air Force, or were you a Navy guy? Like, what did you do in the military?
I was a signal officer, well, not signal officer, signal soldier within the U.S. Army. So that means I went to Fort Gordon there for training, and the general minimal for that contract was like a little over 3.5 years, but I signed up for a 5-year contract, only finished 4 because of a knee injury.
Okay, so what is the MOS for a signals? What is it again?
Signal Support System Specialist is the full title, and the actual
job, right?
Huh?
That's like a tech job, right?
It is a tech job. In fact, it's actually considered a jack of all trades tech job, where I'm able to work on everything, but I'm not specialized in anything.
Oh, okay. So you're like a guy to hold the to put a Band-Aid on the ones and zeros before they all go spraying out of the old firewall dam. Is that a good analogy?
Pretty much. That would be a good one for at least with the computers kind of stuff, but I didn't work just on computers. I worked with radios, I worked with satellite communications.
Hardware? Wow.
Yeah, as I said, it was a jack of all trades. It literally, if I had some form of training at some point, if it squawked any kind of signal information between 2 different devices.
Okay, so here's one for you. Most of the activists that I know, Bunny, hold on.
Mute yourself before you release.
My food alarm is going off. Most of the activists that I know are activists for some kind of animus. There's like most of the police accountability folks I know and cop watchers I know are cop watchers because of either they were attacked by police, you know, they lost a family member to a police shooting, or they were homeless and they were abused by police for a number of years, but there's some kind of animus. And from my perspective, you know, and I don't mean to sound insulting at all, but when somebody goes into the military, they're pretty much a conformist in our societal norms. So what events or thing that happened to you in your life that changed you from this person that's part of the system to, you know, that beautiful, subversive, silent treatment giving civil rights activist that you are now? Like, what changed you from, you know, well, Henry Kissinger, you know, refers to military men as just dumb animals to be expended. You know, so the elites and the people that actually run our society basically viewed you as a meat resource.
Well, how should I put it? I was never thought of myself as necessarily a conformist. I knew exactly what I was getting into when I signed up with the military. I knew I was at low ranking. I'm just a meat shield. I'm there to do a job, and that's about it. I'm a mercenary hired to do whatever I need to do for whatever the government tells me to do. If I got to shoot a gun at someone, I got to shoot a gun at someone. If I got to work on computer equipment, I work on computer equipment. If I got to watch a security camera, I watch a security camera. I got to do those jobs within the military kind of thing. For me, when I joined up with the military, it was prime opportunity. I joined up at pretty much the height of the troop drop, where they're handing out bonuses up into the 30,000 range, $30,000 to $40,000 range. Huh?
About what year?
That was 2007.
Okay, right on.
And the funny part is, later on, not too long after all of that stuff, in the following year, 2008, we had the huge market crash, which caused all that stuff to go away. So in a way, I joined right at the peak of maxing out like those bonuses and all that stuff, because once that market crashed and the economy went to crap, a lot of people started ganging into the military, and they was like, oh, we don't need to issue all these bonuses so often.
Okay, so what was your first action or your first foray into activism? What was the first thing that you did, or what provoked you to do it?
How should I put it? Doing the filming stuff with the police actually wasn't a direct route. What I started with was dealing with politics, and it was actually during the Occupy Wall Street kind of thing. In fact, I sort of have, in a way, I feel a little bit of a kinship with Tim Pool, because we both sort of started our foray in our various media expenditures because of Occupy Wall Street. My specific thing, though, was when Scott Olson got shot in the head with a tear gas canister and was given permanent brain damage for the most part, and all he was doing was standing there when that happened. And then when people went to rescue him, the police intentionally threw a stun grenade, or, well, a flashbang or a stun grenade in the middle of the group that were trying to help him out.
Yeah, I remember that, and that had me so... When I saw the video of them throwing the flashbang grenade at the people trying to render medical aid to him, I have a lot of rage issues. You know, I mean, one of the reasons why I do activism is it's cathartic therapy. And when I saw that, Bunny, when I saw the video, the first time I saw the video of that, both my fists, I dug into my fist with my fingernails, and it wasn't dripping blood, but you could see blood on my palms when I opened my hands. I mean, it made me that angry to watch them do that, you know. So I'm with you there. So what was the first thing you did after you saw that? Like,
well, I forayed into trying to, how should I put it? Well, there was a lot of people already doing like the filming of the police and all that stuff. I was like, well, why don't we hold politicians accountable? And so I tried to go and see what was going on with the politics. I did end up doing the Republican Party for a few years there, and I started, thanks to relatives, I got thrown underneath the bus of a leadership position for the local district kind of thing, which held in power, a little bit of power on the state level of the Republican Party. And after watching the corruption at the state convention, I tried to do accountability, or better accountability, for the what was happening within the Republican Party, which drained me out of my savings in a very quick period of time frame trying to deal with that. And I got to watch firsthand how political apathy happens with supporters and stuff like that, and trying to push change. And after that point, I then was like, you know what, while I'm out, I was visiting some family, not family, some friends across the country. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do some filming stuff, because I was getting annoyed with how Honor Your Oath and a few others were doing all this filming of police and stuff like that, or filming of buildings with the First Amendment. They didn't have audit or test behind them, so I just referred to it as test at that point. And so I was like, I'm going to do something with silent, but I need to get experience. And so I sat there, and my first major filming in that aspect was when I went to the Atlanta airport, and it was a layover, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to film on the other side of the TSA line, because no one's done that at that point.
After the exit, like.
Yeah, it's where you, after you get past, it's on the other side where it's past the control thing where you have to have a ticket and all that stuff. I was like, I'm gonna film that side, and sure enough, that blew up big. And what was it? Carlos Miller there picked that up after I got it uploaded.
Your first video?
That is actually my first video, and it was uploaded on a different YouTube channel at that time frame.
That's freaking awesome, Bunny, that like photography is not a crime, like runs your very first thing you filmed. I mean, that's like serendipitous, you know, that's like, you know, the gods giving you a little nod saying you're supposed to be in alternative media, dude.
Well, I mean, the thing is that that was the first viral one. And then I had another interesting thing, because I did a layover. I did on the way back, I stopped in Texas there, and visited some friends and that were still in the military, and that's when I did the filming of the Fort Hood base, which was also another big video. I don't think that was
that one. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
That was a silent treatment, correct?
No, that wasn't. I didn't do a silent treatment until about a year and a half later, I think it was, or a year later. Okay. But that was another one where I had the police sit there and try to forced me to give up ID, but I'm sitting there with the printed out version of the Texas Penal Code on for having what's the requirement for me to identify myself, and they didn't want to arrest me at that point, but they pushed it right up to that line there.
So they were messing with you over the failure to identify, although all of us with more than 2 brain cells to bump together realizes that that only applies in Texas if memory serves, if they actually arrest you. You don't have to identify, right? That's the way it works in Texas?
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have to identify or give them ID unless they actually arrest you in Texas.
Yeah. And at that point, I think that I was... Honor Your Oath actually was doing, I think, did 1 or 2 filmings of military bases or military installations before that point. But go ahead.
You're talking about Jeffrey Marcus Gray, right? I get all the auditors' names, their handle names mixed up. That's Jeff Gray, right? Honor Your Oath?
Yeah, Jeff Gray.
Okay, dude's great. I love his stuff. I love his work, and I've had the opportunity to have a few decent conversations with him over the years, but I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah, and the thing is I sat there, and I think I was the first one, though, out of everybody to have, dang it, I forgot the name. It's like the FBI for the Army kind of thing, that they actually tracked me down and were asking me questions. I knew who they were. I should have probably have filmed it, so this is all hearsay at this point. But yeah, I had these 2 guys drive up while I'm waiting for my ride, in a brand new pickup truck. It's like this full 1-ton large lifted truck or whatever. And this one guy who hops out, he looks like he's a PFC or whatever. He's got a PFC rank on, he's shaved bald and all that stuff. He's walking around with this other guy who's dressed up as a civilian, but he's sort of got like the military kind of cut. and the hours. It's not even after hours yet. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so no one's off work really. And he comes up, and the guy, that civilian-looking guy, comes up, and he starts asking me these interesting questions, like, "Which radio shows do you watch?" and stuff like that. He just tries to nonchalantly strike up a conversation with me. But I'm just sitting here. I'm like barely a quarter way into the conversation. I realize this guy is information digging me. He's trying to dig up information, and so I was like, I'll give him a little bit of information, but I won't give him too much. And it was quite interesting because I sat there and shot the shit with him a little bit, and then my ride showed up. I hopped in the truck and left with the other guy there that came and picked me up. And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, wow, that's quite interesting. And of course, obviously, I mean, that wasn't my only foray with that kind of issue. I had the Air Force OSI, incidentally, with the famous J-Bear Bunny Boots Inc. Video there too.
So if people want to find that video, the J-Bear Bunny Boots Inc. video, what's the title of it? Or can you just embed it underneath the stream?
Yeah, I could easily toss in a link for that, but it's J-Bear Silent Treatment.
After the show, so my people can watch it too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's known as the J-Bear Silent Treatment. It's actually the most, if you were to sort my channel, if you go to my channel and just sort the videos by most popular, it is the most popular video on my channel right now. If not, it will be in the top 5, I guarantee it that much.
All my most popular videos are just me dressing cops down and making their lives a living hell. I mean, at least your most popular stuff is substantive.
and the thing is what? How should I put it? I aim for a boring video. I'm not looking to really get at the cause and issue that is going to really bring a lot of attention onto myself outside of just the actual act of filming. And I understand some people are out there, it's like, I want it for the views, or they're in it for whatever other reasons, or they just got that explosive personality where they don't get along well with people that try to boss them around.
Sure. Like,
and the thing is multiple, I mean, if that's their thing, that's their thing. That's their shtick. I have no problem with that, except for where there's ignorance issues that apply for legal issues that could easily get them really hemmed up in big trouble and all that stuff. And that's when I mean, you get me coming out of the woodwork like earlier with the Poster 7 stuff.
Sure.
But, I mean, for me, my objective is just, are they going to pass the stand here with the camera thing, or with just me doing the documenting thing? Like, if I go into the DMV, am I going to have an issue with me documenting my process of doing XYZ, putting in a driver's license change, update, or renewal, or whatever I need to do? And quite often, I think about 70% of the time that I go into the DMV or something like that, I'll record that interaction just for accountability's sake. Do I release all of that footage all the time? No, because sometimes I might not actually have the camera out openly recording all that stuff.
Sure. You know, I think all those approaches and all the approaches in between, like the whole spectrum of police accountability activist people, even the folks at home that just like to support various activists, or people that, you know, Bunny Boots and myself and all the other activists that do this work are only as strong as our signal. And, you know, without our followers, without the people that watch what we do and share what we do, we may as well be, you know, in a cargo container at the bottom of the ocean. So, you know, all the various styles are as equally important. I'll never bag on your style, although I am a brute force activist. You know, I'm one of those kind of people that I'll research what that line is that I can go up to, and I'm going to go up to that line. And if a cop wants to jump over the line from his or her authority that they're supposed to be in, and if they want to jump over that line and grab me without just cause, I'm just the part of my brain that's supposed to be afraid sometimes just breaks. I don't know what it is about me, but I completely respect the guys like you and Jeffrey Marcus Gray and News Now Houston, and, you know, I could name names for an hour, but like you guys that are more polite, you know, because I understand that caters to a whole other segment of people, you know. So personally, I love what you do. But let's get into the silent treatment. Like, tell my audience and my viewers, the people that are in the on my side of the equation here, what the silent treatment is, and why is it that people like me just think that's freaking awesome? I mean, why do you think that we admire that so much?
The difficulty to keep your mouth shut. That is that is the primary difficulty when it comes to doing a silent treatment. In fact, actually, what's even better is when I had that debate with Ichabod Orange, or argument, actually it would be more appropriate this day. He said I was unpersoning people with my silence, and all it is really I'm just testing how well and someone that's coming up to investigate you will react and respect your rights under the First Amendment to not reply to them, and under the Fifth Amendment of not having to incriminate yourself, kind of thing, or where you're not forced to incriminate yourself or give out incriminating information, kind of thing.
Your Fourth and your Fifth, yeah.
No, the First and Fifth. Remember, you have the First Amendment gives you freedom of speech. It also gives you the freedom of not to speak too. So it's an effective way of using. I mean, it's effectively falls underneath two amendments within the First and the Fifth. When you look at it,
because like the last 24 hours, I've had like 6 hours of sleep, and we were joking, dear viewers, before we started the show. We should retitle the video, sleep deprivation with a side of exhaustion.
Yeah, I'm on 4 hours of sleep actually. I'm wondering if I'm gonna be able to get any more sleep today because my back's been acting up since Sunday, I think it was. And so I haven't been able to get too much sleep these past several days. I haven't really been able to get much work done, and it's really affecting me on my personal side of things. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I messed up because I got really into editing the video that I had playing during the show, and I didn't get a lot of sleep before the show. And I'm surprised that I even have the 3 people that are watching on my side, because this is like the 4th or 5th live stream that I've ever done that wasn't just covering a protest to make sure that if I get arrested that there's a document of it. Thanks 3 people for watching. Anywho, more questions for Bunny. So, if you had the ability to reform law enforcement in any manner that you saw fit, you being the benevolent dictator, what would you change about the way that profession is dealing with itself? Like, what changes would you make?
Independent review, citizen review board, and and how should I put it? When it comes to public records requests and all that stuff, all the body cam footage should be accessible, and dash cam stuff should be accessible to the individuals that are involved with that specific incident where the police
without any BS, without any rigmarole, or without any fines or fees, that they just have instant access to it.
How should I put it? It wouldn't be instant access, because depending on the situation, let's say there's multiple parties or something like that. Obviously, I would say some information would definitely need to be redacted if there's like personal information, social security number, driver's license, stuff like that. The usual standard stuff that usually gets redacted. Yes, that would be I just have to deal with, and of course the standard processing fees for getting those public records, well, those specific records that deal with it. I mean, it's a little bit expensive for like the $20, like when I requested the dash cam videos from the Anchorage Police Department for my arrest. But then again, I mean, they got to pay the person to sit there and go through the footage and just make sure there's nothing that's going to be violating anybody else's privacy or any of those issues. And I understand that those safeguards need to be put in place.
I got you. So what about the laws in regards to self-defense? Because the way it is in Oregon, there's a castle doctrine. When in regards to we'll just use Oregon as an example, because the laws are very similar in every state. But there's a castle.
Not quite. Go ahead though.
Well, the basic backbone, the common law that it's all parsed out of is very similar. You know, oh, what's up, King 9? But anywho, the castle doctrine is something that is pretty universal. They do it pretty much in every state, a version of it. That's why I decided to use that one. But you're right, it is parsed out, and it gets really crazily different if you go far away from each other. But what I was saying was, if someone breaks in your house in Oregon, you're allowed to use lethal force if they're bringing lethal force, right? But that works with an individual. Like if Joe Blow off the street breaks in your house and they're trying to kill you, you can kill them. But a cop, no. A cop can shoot a citizen if they make a quote-unquote furtive movement in Oregon, which means just a movement that could have been interpolated as aggressive, and they can shoot you. If a cop is arresting you and there's no legal cause, there's no legal justification for it, and you resist and kill the cop or fight the cop, resist the cop in any way, you're gonna get prosecuted in Oregon. There's no legal way to defend yourself physically from a cop in Oregon. Now, if Bunny Boots could reform law enforcement, would you leave it at qualified immunity, where they're just viewed as these perfect angels and you can't defend yourself against them as things stand? Or would you change it to where, you know, it's like you can defend yourself against any normal citizen? You know, would you even the playing field, or would you leave it at this insane level of disadvantage that a person has to a cop that exists now?
Well, as is, when it comes to individual versus individual, I view the right to self-defense to be a prime thing. Now, when it comes to dealing with law enforcement, that one is a mixed bag, because as is, there's a lot of issues all over the place. And I'll give a good example. There was a police department over in, well, the Killeen Police Department did a raid on this one guy who was at home, and they suspected of being a drug dealer. And they busted into his place, and he ended up killing 2 officers. He did not know that they were police. Well, actually, no, I think he killed 1 officer, but the other one was injured. But nonetheless, he shot 2 police officers, and he was taking the task in the court over that. Now, his defense was he did not know who was breaking into his place. He just knew people were breaking into his place, and he fired in self-defense. And over in Texas, the castle doctrine is very liberal. In fact, you are able to use lethal force to defend your property. Unlike probably here in Oregon, where it's limited to self-defense, and right, of course exactly. California being different, where you have to retreat and have no ability to further retreat in order to be legally allowed to use lethal force, because California is just all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, in Oregon, since you're new here, that's exactly how it works here. Like, you can't defend your property with lethal force in Oregon without getting prosecuted. The castle doctrine specifically says out in the specificity that you can't make traps in your home to defend it. So if you make, like, you know, pit traps in your home, or like spring traps or whatever, pendulum traps, and someone gets hurt by them, you're going to get prosecuted. But yeah, but the way it's stated in Oregon is that self-defense, if someone attacks you, like fisticuffs, they're like they come up and punch you in the face, you have to prove that you tried to escape when you're out of your home. So you know, I can't give legal advice ad nauseum, blah blah blah. Talk to a real lawyer. But the way I would deal with it, and the way I have dealt with it in the past, is if someone comes at you and they want to fight, I'm like, Bob, can you film me? Like, so make sure it's being documented. And I hold my hands up and I take a couple steps backwards and say, I don't want to fight you. You know, so you prove that you tried to escape. You know, and then if they come at you, like, you know, do whatever you can as hard as you can. Whatever you know how to do, it's time to do it. You know, but if you just engage in the fight immediately in Oregon, both of you gets Measure 11 assault charges, you know, disorderly conduct and all that fun stuff. Now, if somebody's trying to steal your property, the way the law is written in Oregon is that you have to use a measured, reasonable amount of force to retain your property. So I guess if they're trying to snatch your purse, if you're a woman, or if they're a guy and they're trying to, take your wallet, you can fight them off. But if they fall to the ground and then you decide to have a little boot party, you're getting steel bracelets for every kick. After that.
But I mean, getting back on track with
you make sure you stay there.
Well, getting back on track with your question though, is, I view that there should be a line on defense against police officers, and when it comes down to like illegal arrests and stuff like that, I sort of view that there should be some sort of resistance allowed. I'm not exactly in agreement with the one court case that I did read a long time ago from the late 1800s, which has been further refined down with subsequent case law. I have not really done too much, in-depth reading of the case laws and all that stuff, because the amount of time it takes to read up and study all that. But I do view that if there is an issue where an officer is illegally arresting you or something like that, there should be, and without a doubt that the law doesn't apply to you and it can be proven in court, then you should be free to let go of all the charges if the officer's completely in the wrong on the arrest. But it needs to be, it would have to be also backed up in court after the fact.
I got you. So there should be some sort of standard for proving that you resisted with just cause.
Exactly. And so there would, and the thing is, that's where I would be on that part. It would add, how should I put it? It would make sure to ensure the officers know what they're arresting for, because they know that if they go outside of that, they are putting themselves at risk and harm. But of course, also, it will cause issues on people who think they know their shit. And I've filmed and talked with people who think they know their shit and mouth off and try to resist arrest, only to prove themselves wrong later in the court of law that they were a freaking dumbass and didn't know the law, for the matter of fact.
Yeah, most of the cops that I know personally that talk to me off the record and off camera, their dog whistle for when they know someone doesn't know their rights is when they start screaming, "I know my rights!" Like, 90% of the time, that one guy that's screaming that is going to go off the rails and say something really dumb and get themselves with handcuffs. So here's another question for you, Bunny. There's a simple majority of U.S. states. I don't remember the exact number, but
hold on, we got an incoming super chat. So
sure.
On my side, give it a minute here. It's gonna take a minute. I just saw it show up in the chat feed. So
come to Tucson again sometime.
Now, speaking of super chat, who's gonna hook Mikey up, man? Holla dollar bill.
Thank you, Hood Hippo, for the $2. I would love to have the ability to travel, but unfortunately my resources are very limited, and I'm trying to make the best with what I got. Okay, go ahead, continue asking. What were you asking, Mike, there?
Well, I was asking my live stream viewers to hook me up with a super chat, but aside from that, okay, there's a simple majority of U.S. states, and this is insane, but cops are allowed to have sex with someone that's in custody as long as the cop says that they consented. Now, this is crazy to me because most states have a law called coercion, felony coercion. And basically felony coercion goes a little something like this. If someone has the ability to use a threat of an incentive or disincentive to manipulate you into doing something you wouldn't otherwise do, then that's a freaking felony. But cops get an out for that. So cops can literally, in a simple majority of states in America, it's like over 36 or 37 states, say they can get a woman in handcuffs, or a guy for that matter, and say, hey, if you perform oral sex on me, I might let you out of the ticket. Hey, how about this? What would you do with that insanity of laws?
Well,
Funny.
First off, I'm going to need a citation because I've only heard of like one state having something like that, but it doesn't give a de facto defense against straight up rape charges.
Right. It doesn't. I'll send you links and citations later.
Yeah, I know, and the thing is I when it comes to something like that, it's something I want to be able to verify with my eyes or whatever, and be able to see, okay, is it really 12 states? Is it really? But yeah, the thing is my opinion.
It's a really high number, but hypothetically, if I'm right, you know, and I'll send you a citation later, what would you do with that?
With some sort of law like that. Oh,
Mr. Bluehair rules.
There you go. There's your super chat, man. Mr. Bluehair rules from Aiden. Aiden. Yeah, but anyway.
Thank you, brother.
When it comes down to something like that, I don't see that as a legitimate reason to excuse an officer from having illicit relationships with someone that's in their direct custody. That is, in my opinion, is just like a school teacher having sex with their students, or having some sort of sexual illicit with their students or something like that. It's uncalled for. It shouldn't exist, and it should immediately be a fireable offense. If there's any kind of rape, definitely rape charges need to be pushed, or sexual harassment charges if found. Those are to be applicable to the situation, obviously.
Agreed. I'm distracted because I'm finding you that citations. Now, okay, I'm going to send you a Steemit post that's, and you can look it over tomorrow, but
yeah.
I'm going to show you, I'm going to send you a Steemit post that lists these links for the information that it got it from. It's a Think Big article, it's an Associated Press article, and it's a New York Daily News article that I'm about to send you that references to it. And it's 34 U.S. states. Now,
yeah, that's someone in your chat just pointed that Fathom Lord Carter, or I'm not sure how they pronounce that last part. So, might be just a mishmash of letters at the end.
Phantom Lord or Fathom.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm tossing it to you in a private message now, so you can check that out later at your leisure. But yeah, that's incredible to me. There's also, I can't remember the state, Bunny, but this came up in a conversation that you and I had privately a number of months ago. But there's one U.S. state that passed a law that says that if cops break in your house and they don't have just cause to be there, that you can just straight shoot them, like lethal force. I forget what state it was. Was it like Wisconsin or something?
I think it might have been Michigan that had something like that. But man, that was so. There's been so much since then. That was like 2 years ago. And I'm not.
What do you think about that, Bunny? Like if you could reform the law, would you sanction such a thing if you were a benevolent dictator or benevolent dictator?
Possibly. As I said, I would have to sit down and think about something like that. But to be honest, it would sort of fall in line with like the self-defense kind of thing, like with what happened over in Killeen, Texas, where the guy ended up shooting the cops. Shooting two officers. One of them ended up dying that I know of. When they busted into this place without yelling, "This is the police" when they came in, kind of thing. So, and he didn't have a chance. And then as soon as he realized that it's the cops that are busting in, he dropped the firearm, kind of thing. And that's a whole different situation. And if I remember correctly, actually there was a citation to a specific use of force case in a case law that I was reading through not too long ago. It might have been actually when I was reading through Turner v. Driver, involving a similar situation where these two guys were held up in their house, I guess running from the cops from DUI or whatever, and they got an exchange. I would have to look at my past streams, but as I said, there's so much information I go through. I forget a lot of it and have to re-review a lot of crap.
Right on. So I just want to give a plug. No, I don't. Never mind. Brain fart. Okay. Other question for Bunny. So the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights that's been adopted, or a version of it's been adopted in almost every state and large city in the country, basically has provisions that bar the public from knowing what sort of discipline that officers got. Meaning if they got a use of force complaint and they had to, you know, take pay cuts or whatnot. And the reason for this is that, you know, the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights basically says that they can't be ridiculed or basically they have a legal protection that protects them from being harassed because of any past discipline. Now, would you leave that in the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights, or would you make every infraction that they've done public?
I would have a modified version of that. I understand some reasoning behind some of that. In which case, the thing is sustained infractions need to be a public record with the police agency itself. I can understand, okay, let's not publicize the individual officers thing in the public records kind of thing. So what I would say is what the police department has to do is any sustained infractions against its officers within its agency should be a public record with the actual individual officers' information, identifiable information left out of it. But what the infraction is about, what the punishment is, should be left available to the public record and available to the people that are requesting it from that police agency. And the funny thing is with the referring back to the Ichabod Orange and Bill Clinton or Joshua debate or argument on the morning Kumite that I had was specifically in that thing. They sat there and said, well, why don't you just go and request these records? Well, guess what? As you pointed out, those records are not available to the general public.
Yep.
And the only time you are able to get your hands on those records is if there's an actual lawsuit or legal case going on with those individual officers, in which case you can pull those records underneath the Brady case law,
right.
Brady v. Maryland.
Now, this way that the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights buries access for the general public to have any kind of data on officer discipline is one of the primary things that facilitates the people's general perception of law enforcement. People don't understand that they're committing as many crimes or offenses because those crimes and offenses are literally being swept under the rug by law. And that's just, what's your thought on
not necessarily by law in all cases. In the situation you're citing out, it's actually a contractual agreement between the police officers, the union, and the city or the state or municipality.
Yes and no, Bunny, because the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights is actually the perversion of Supreme Court decisions. So they say that they literally have a legal right to be protected from having people know their disciplinary infractions. So they literally define it as part of law, which is it doesn't make any sense and it's antithetical to logic. But,
yeah, well, as I said, I haven't. I mean, there's tons of case law. I haven't. You probably have the citations for those case laws or something like that I haven't had a chance to read. I don't even know if I'll have a. Oh, well, I'll probably end up stumbling across those because as I try to work my way for law school and all that stuff, that I will end up having to read that stuff at some point.
So Bunny's gonna go to law school and pass the Oregon bar?
I'm gonna give it a shot. I got money I gotta use up from the military. It's getting close to that expiration point, so I gotta go and throw that shit down. It's gonna suck for people that enjoy content that I produce because it will definitely take an impact, but I mean, I'm aiming for a higher goal, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Bunny's got to do what a Bunny's got to do. I mean, if Bunny needs to hop into law school, then Bunny's going to hop that way. I mean, that's the thing. You know, you got to take care of you. You know, personally, I think that's awesome. You know, I was thinking about it myself, but I haven't researched. You know, because every single time I get arrested and I have a public defender, what I think, you know, about 5,000 times before I finally get to do a trial or before there's a civil compromise or however it ends is like, what is the state paying this guy for? Like, I'm always thinking I could do this stuff if I had, like, you know, the schooling, you know, but like, I'm not sure if a felon can pass the bar in Oregon. I need to read up on that. But I was
in general, when it comes to the bar, they will not accept people with a felony. In fact, they have like a character kind of thing, but that can be possibly waived and all that stuff. You would specifically have to look. You would have to speak with the bar. But here's the thing: while you may not be able to pass the bar, there's nothing that stops you from being a legal scholar. If you go and get the law degree and all that stuff, I mean, you can still be an influential person that does like the legal research and puts out papers and all that stuff.
But my motivation for wanting to do that would be to represent a whole bunch of people for free and be the maximum pain in the ass to the state and the fascistic blue ISIS as I possibly could, and that kind of makes that a moot point. So I couldn't represent a bunch of people for free.
Yeah. I just want to point out my chat that's having fun with the whole Judge Bunny Boots, Judge Beard, and all that stuff. The thing is law school isn't quite straightforward. You just don't jump into law school. You have to get a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree, before you get into law school. It's just like if you're trying to go for a doctor. You got your initial studies of school that you got to go through first before you can get the nitty gritty of before you can get that doctorates kind of thing. And with a JW, it's the same thing. So
my felony is nonviolent, and it's coming up on 10 years, so I can apply to get it expunged. And if my felony's expunged, then I probably could, petition the bar and say, look, my felony's expunged. I've been a good boy for a few years now.
Yeah, well, if you're able to get that expunged, I think that would allow you to become a lawyer, or at least be able to take the bar and pass that part. Because it's officially off your record at that point, unless you're going into a specific government jobs.
So my final question, and then I'm satisfied as to my audience having a good understanding of what Bunny Boots is about. What pisses you off, man? I mean, what makes you get ranty? I mean, what's your number one thing that just makes you livid? And just let it rip, man. Just like tell Mikey and the internet all about it.
When people fall for stupid shit, when you got let's see here, internet trolling, which I do trolling too, but internet trolling, but I'm being on the losing end of that will definitely tick you off. But I think the most parts that piss me off the most is like when you have illegal arrests that will not hold up in courts. Like, let's say probably with the video that's going to come out of Texas later on tonight involving Texas sheepdog. I'm probably going to watch a part of that. I'm going to get to a certain point, stop. I'm either going to walk out the room and do something else, or I'm going to turn on Grand Theft Auto or some other game that allows me to vent my rage on computer people or something like that. Because
punching video game cops in the face. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, because there are, how should I put it? There has been a lot of videos of just from like the auditors out there and some of the cop watchers that have gotten my blood so boiled up, or even with the open carry people too. People that do open carry that have been hemmed up by the cops have made me rage so hard where I like. No, I don't want to throw this keyboard or mouse through the damn through the computer screen here on my TV. Okay, time to calm down, pause, or just completely exit. I'm not going to finish this because it's going to piss me off so much. I'm just going to sit here and do something else. Take my mind off of it. I can say this much. I'll probably just be like, yeah, maybe I need to go get some blood pressure medicine. In fact, me and a few others have that I talk with that are involved in this stuff that do take blood pressure medicine. We make the joke, hey, yeah, before you watch this video that we just heard about, take your blood pressure medicine beforehand because you're gonna need it.
So I guess in a comedic note, and this is not really a serious question, but I would appreciate an answer. So I know the answer to this question, but why are you called Bunny Boots?
how should I put it? It's a throwback to my political accountability activism days, where I went to this meeting kind of thing, and this was after, well, towards the end of when, right before I got pretty much disenfranchised, and I had almost no support to continue doing what I was doing, and I was nearing the end of my the money I had. And I was like, okay, well, since the corrupt politicians holding this dinner thing like to be a pain in the ass, on this little donation sheet, I'm going to fill out the business name, pain in my ass, and my position is pain in your ass, or something like that. Yeah. And so I put that paperwork in, and they, later on that night after that meeting and all that stuff, I'm sitting there, and we get a phone call back because I was staying at another person's place, and they're going, hey, yo, they want clarification. They want the actual company name and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, hold on. And I go and look up the cost of how much it costs to register a business, and sure enough, it was $100. And sure enough, I had $100 to spare. So I was like, huh, how could I have some fun with this? And so I recalled back to when I look back at the that fall meeting where they shut down the meeting because of my filming, and I had that one lady come up and go off on me about my bunny boots, which was my 1,000 subscriber thing on my YouTube channel, which you guys can easily go and find. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know what I can do. I'm gonna name it Bunny Boots, and I'm gonna put ink on the end, and it's sort of like for incorporated, but I'm gonna do a play on words instead. I'm gonna use pen ink, and I registered the business, and I submitted proof that it's a business, and I kept the position name, pain in your ass, or pain in the ass.
Bunny Boots, and your official position is pain in your ass.
Yeah.
That's freaking beautiful. Like, so that's in your intro or outro, that like the woman's ranting and she's like, it's the middle of the afternoon and you should be ashamed of yourself because you have bunny boots on.
No, it's 70 degrees out. You should be you have bunny boots on. You should be ashamed of yourself or something like that. Yeah, pretty close to it.
70 degrees out. Oh yeah, that used to make me giggle before I knew you. Like I'm scrolling through YouTube, all like, you know, like bloodshot eyes and twitching and looking for the next thing to be offended over, and I'm like, bunny boots, and I click on it and I hear that woman saying that, and it just provokes laughter. You're just like,
yeah. And Lady Zaga, yeah, it's a play on words. I'm actually, how should I put it, I'm very in a way poetic kind of thing, because I love wordplay. And not just with the English language, I love it with the Japanese language. I do watch a lot of like anime and stuff and read mangas. And with the Japanese language, there is a lot of wordplay, just because the characters that are used within the two different subset of characters that are used within the Japanese language can have multiple meanings depending on the context that you're putting in. And so quite often in a very debatable, discussion-oriented, or commentary, high commentary anime or something like that, you'll encounter stuff with a lot of wordplay, like the anime Bakemonogatari, which is a whole series, and quite often the anime doesn't really have action. It's a lot of people just talking to each other, and there's tons of wordplay where you're sitting there and you have to pause to catch all the shit that's going on, but it's quite hilarious and great. And it's not just with the Japanese language. I guess the Polish language has got some pretty good ones too.
Yeah, there's a lot of languages that have basically a masculine and a feminine and a neutral or gender neutral expression for your nouns, your person, places, or things, and I think it's really interesting. But I have to give credit to King 9 Will Not Return. He hooked us up. Okay, the state that it's legal to shoot a cop if they break in your house and try to shoot you, and you won't get any penalty, is Indiana. So Indiana stepped up and passed a law that said if cops break in your house and they're bringing lethal force, you can just go ahead and do them like you would anybody else. And personally, you know, I know this is all about bunny boots, but that just makes my little anarchist heart jump for joy. Like, personally, I think they should be held to the exact same standard that everyone else is, meaning that if someone tries to kill me, I can do them. You know. But anywho, so the show has gone over 15 minutes over its 2-hour mark, and final words or anything you would like to cover about who you are and what you're about for my people to hear. And
oh yes, okay. Here's the thing, and this is a challenge that goes out to anybody. In fact, actually, I'm probably got to reissue some a redo on some discussions here. I am a fan of internet blood sports. For those of you who don't know what that is where me and someone else sit there and argue about a topic back and forth. In fact, you got a good example of that when I covered the Morning Kumite stream that I participated in, what was it, 2 weeks ago? And that, as is, if you got beef with me, or you want to debate me on a topic, or you disagree with me, bring it. I would love to take you on the Morning Kumite, or maybe the Sinatra Says, who's also another person. And the thing is, if you don't agree with my stances on my political thing, I am all open for that. And we don't even necessarily have to have it on their platform. We could easily have it on my platform. I am all for that. Oh, we got an incoming super chat, so I'm gonna continue. Hold off for a second here. And I'll continue talking.
Is it you or is it me? Is it you?
It's me. It's me. Oh, you see it in the chat. If you look in the chat on my chat, oh, there it is.
Abrogate today. Can we talk subrogation next time?
Oh boy, someone's pulling the dictionary out on us, man. We're gonna have some fun next episode, I guess. But as is, I'm all up for that kind of shit. I want to get involved in the internet blood sports.
Now, I'm familiar with the on the street getting in a cop's bitter, pinched, mean, evil little faces, or authoritarian's little faces, and dressing him down and making him feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. But what is this internet blood sport debate thing? I mean, is it like all bets are off? You mean ad hominems, sexist, racist, classist stuff? You can just tear them apart?
Oh hell yeah! There's great examples. In fact, what was it, that white nationalist dude, that Spencer dude or whatever? Oh man, yeah. He got ripped to shreds by Sticks 666 and that other I think it was Sargon. Well, Sargon didn't really handle that one, but someone else ripped him a new one.
He's the guy that made the Punch a Nazi famous. Yeah, that guy. I forgot his last name. Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Total retard in a mongoloid 13 IQ sort of way.
And believe me, I would say, I would love to take him on. And the thing is when it comes to the Morning Kumite, everything is when it comes to internet blood sports, pretty much anything goes. It is my thing.
Arguments for racial segregation and like a white ethno state and all that can so easily be debunked with just logical empiricism that you really don't even need to tear into it. I would love to debate that retard.
There's tons of us, and the thing is like with the those kids that are going around from the Florida thing trying to push for more intrusive gun laws and furthering the Baker Act beyond what it's currently as. I would love to take them onto internet blood sports. Obviously, they most likely wouldn't, or their parents wouldn't let them. They probably would get torn to shreds by anybody in a debate, to be honest, even an informal debate.
Sure.
But for me, I don't care if I'm gonna lose. I enjoy it. It is my new pastime. If I can participate in it, I'm gonna enjoy the hell of it. I'm looking for challengers to take on. And I mean, if you got something you want to do with it. And and here's the thing, with ladies Zaga, Sargon is hilarious, yes, but you know what, I would really love to take Sargon on with internet blood sports. Unfortunately, he seems to be backing out on all that stuff. So
see, Sargon of Akkad is he's brilliant in a lot of ways when he goes up against the social justice warriors, but being an anarchist, his thoughts and ideas about anarchism is all just so blatantly wrong, and he always sets up these stupid ad hominem or various logical fallacies that he, you know, strawman. He likes to really strawman anarchist, and
Yeah.
I would love to debate anarchism with Sargon of Akkad.
Well, the thing is I want to go. I want to debate him on his liberalist thing, but it turns out it looks like he's officially handed over the reins to V, to take up that mantle as the king of the liberalist. And so I so badly want to take on their thing, because I got some criticisms and I got some questions that I don't think anybody has really asked them about, on how about going about what they want to do, that is going to really challenge their thought thing. And so actually, yes, this is me throwing the gloves down for Sargon or V. I am wanting to take you on, even though I'm some small dinky 10,000 subscriber channel that maybe gets, if I'm on a good day that I'm not doing a First Amendment test, maybe about 40, maybe 50 live stream viewers, concurrent live stream viewers, on a day that I'm doing a First Amendment test. I may be having up to 150 or something like that. But yes, I am willing. I'm wanting to take you on that aspect. Maybe someone could tweet that at them or put that challenge out there.
And I have to say that I'm a fan of his channel and that other guy that goes after the SJWs, Undoomed. I love Undoomed's work. I love Sargon stuff. I just disagree with him on many points because he talks about so many subjects. But let's get back to shit posting, because we were talking about that earlier. Have you heard of the YouTube channel Leafy is Here?
I've heard of Leafy. It sounded like he was I mean, at one point he was a drama channel similar to Keemstar there.
Well, he plays video games and just talks crap. But the kid is hilarious, man. I mean, if you want to talk about like one of the more interesting bald-faced you know, spewers of politically incorrect content, Leafy's just hilarious. Like, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So it's in. Let me do my plugs, because it's been 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah, we need to end this. My back's actually starting to bug me from in this chair. So,
Bunny, you got to bring us home after that. So as always, I'm gonna promote the hell out of Steemit. If you're watching this on Steemit, hook Mikey Bluehair up with an upvote or a re-steam for police accountability. Also, everyone who upvotes and re-steams any of my video content, I will send you in the mail, no shit, a 24-karat, 8-ounce, diamond-encrusted maned pony. That's right, a gold pony for everyone who upvotes and re-steams this post. Pony deliveries are subject to my whim at any given moment, and the willingness of the U.S. Postal Service to deliver your pony for free. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. And I have to say that I'm as only strong as my signal. All my supporters, please do upvote, re-steam, share. You know, thanks again for the $2 from this super chat, Aiden. I'm just really grateful that I have this ability to be on the interweb, and that people listen to me, and I am humbled by the audience that I've had over the years, and my ability to actually express myself is just a blessing. And I have to thank everyone that watches and supports my work. That's it.
All right, okay, and just to close out there, the music that we listened to on the way for starting up the stream was of course from Techno Axe. The specific song name, give me a second here, so this way I give was called Objective Cognition. There's like maybe about a few seconds left in that. I'll probably finalize that out on that part. Yes, Lady Zaga, I'll try to go back through the chat log real fast and look at your suggestion there. You guys have a good afternoon, well, good evening. Apparently Pissed Off Taxpayer 2, well, I think it's on this 2 channel, is currently live streaming from what someone says, so go check out his thing, or check out any of the other activists that might be live streaming out there. You guys have a good night, and I will go